All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to a very special episode of VMFC dedicated to a special team indeed, Liverpool. As you all know, Liverpool was crowned the Premier League champions for the first time in 30 years. 30 years. They had never won the actual Premier League. They were league champions. But since 1990, they hadn't won the league. And finally, they did it in a spectacular fashion. Well-deserved. There was no question who was the most dominant team in the last 12 months. That was definitely Liverpool. But on this episode, I want to look back at the entire process that Liverpool had to go through in order to become one of the elites one more time. And for us to establish this story, we have to go back all the way to 2015. That is when Brendan Rodgers was still manager of Liverpool. He had lost some momentum. The team had not qualified for Champions League the previous season, and it just looked like everything was falling out of order with Brendan Rodgers. Sure enough, he was sacked in October of 2015. In came Jurgen Klopp. He had recently stepped down as manager of Borussia Dortmund and was unemployed. He said he needed a break, so he comes in to Liverpool and becomes the manager of the bunch. The Liverpool fans seemed to be very, very excited because they thought it was something different. It was out of the norm. Of course, Jurgen Klopp had never managed in England. He had only managed in Germany, which was, a little bit good in a way because they were kind of breaking that mold of only English managers or managers that already knew the Premier League. So Jurgen Klopp came in and there was definitely some, I would say a lot of optimism from Liverpool fans, but people on the outside were a little bit skeptical because of the same reason that Liverpool fans were excited. It was a coach that didn't know the Premier League. It was a coach that had lost every final that he had played in. He hadn't won a title since 2012, and he was going into a team that was desperate for a title, whether it was a League Cup, an FA Cup, any continental championship, let alone the Premier League. And Jurgen Klopp came in and he said that the titles would be coming in very, very soon.
Then we can start in a very difficult league with opponents that are big and bigger and bigger maybe, but in a special Liverpool way. We can be successful when we can wait for it, of course, but I don't want to say we have to wait the next 20 years and I'm sit here again. I know when I sit here in 4 years, I think we won one title in this time. I'm pretty sure.
Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool had relative success in that first quote-unquote season because he came in October, of course, so it wasn't a full season, but they did have relative success together. Liverpool finished 8th in the Premier League, though, so that isn't necessarily the best position. They didn't manage to get into Europa League or Champions League, but they did go to the League Cup final and the Europa League final. They lost both finals, which kind of gave the detractors the benefit of the doubt right there because Jurgen Klopp had gone to 2 finals with his new team and lost both of them. But there was a little bit of hope because the team throughout the season had shown that they were different. They had a different mentality. They were more fierce. They wanted it a little bit more. It just appeared like Jurgen Klopp's persona, his personality had rubbed on to the players, which is exactly what you need as a manager. And even though Liverpool did lose both finals, they showed a lot of courage in their losing efforts.
We're better than we usually are in this moment where we've really about emotion, about with passion, turned games and really forced the result. That was great. And now tonight, it could have been enough, but not with 50-60% of our usual quality. And now we have to accept that it was not more than 50-60% of the quality. So the guys tried everything, and we didn't get it tonight. But how I said, we will come back.
In the following season, Liverpool cleaned house pretty much. They got rid of any players that they thought were aging or simply not good enough for the system that Jurgen Klopp was trying to implement. And that included, of course, Martin Skrtel, the center back, Jose Enrique, Kolo Toure, Jordan Ibe, Joe Allen, Mario Balotelli, and Christian Benteke. They didn't replace these players by signing a bunch of new players. They replaced them by signing good quality players that were almost automatically going to become starters. Who are we talking about? We talk about Sadio Mane, who had become one of the best players in the Premier League, not playing in one of the top 6 teams. He had played for Southampton previously, and he was just absolutely tearing it up. Liverpool brought him to Merseyside. Georginio Wijnaldum from PSV Eindhoven, he was doing excellent in the Eredivisie. Of course, that got him a spot in the Premier League. Loris Karius, although we know what happens, we'll talk about that later, but Simon Mignolet needed a bit of competition. He needed to know that if he were to make a mistake, or if he was to string a couple of bad games, his job could be lost. His job was being threatened by someone on the bench, and eventually Loris Karius did become the starter. And since Liverpool did not play any continental competitions in the 2016-2017 season, they were able to focus on the Premier League because their ultimate goal was to go to the Champions League for the following season, and that they did. They finished in 4th place, which at the time earned you a Champions League playoff spot, and that's exactly what they did. They made it to the Champions League playoffs in the 2017-2018 season.
Of course, these people here deserve European nights, and it's really cool to know we will have them.
It is impossible to deny that Liverpool had a massive shift from the 16-17 season to the 17-18 season because the core of the team was becoming stronger. You had guys, of course, like Jurgen Klopp at the helm, and then you had guys like Joel Matip who joined for free, actually, which you want to talk about a steal. He came in for free the previous season from Schalke. What a tremendous signing. They had Jordan Henderson, Georginio Wijnaldum, Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino. And although there was a little bit of turmoil there in the beginning of that season, Philippe Coutinho did end up playing a good amount of minutes towards the end of his Liverpool career. But Liverpool knew that Philippe Coutinho was not going to stay for the long run. His mind was somewhere else. He wanted to leave Liverpool because he wanted to win titles. And in hindsight, of course, that looks ridiculous because of the place where he went compared to the place that he left. But Liverpool did an excellent job in replacing him. And in came Mohamed Salah. He had a bad stint at Chelsea. Then he went over to Roma, of course. And he tried his luck there, and he became one of the best players in the Italian league. And sure enough, that earned him a spot back in the Premier League. And oh my goodness, did Mohamed Salah cause an immediate impact on this Liverpool side. But Mohamed Salah was not the only move that Liverpool made in that 17-18 season. They brought in Andy Robertson, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. They also brought in Virgil van Dijk in the middle of that season. It looked like it was probably not going to happen, but it did. It eventually happened in January of 2018, and they gave Trent Alexander-Arnold a long-term contract after proving himself the previous season. So it just looked like Liverpool was spending in a wise way. They were investing in the future, and boy, was it going to pay off.
I can say I will give 100%, and I give everything for the club because I'm here, and I like to be here. And really, I want to win something for this club.
Well, fantastic. Obviously, happy to be here, and I can't wait to get started.
How important a factor was Jurgen Klopp in your decision to come to Liverpool?
It gives you that good feeling. You can always talk to him, and like I've known him for years, but I know he can be very straight and hard to use, and I think I need that as well.
When you look at that 2017-2018 season for Liverpool, there are some aspects that can indicate that they did overachieve just a little bit. They went from being a playoff team to being a Champions League finalist. Of course, they didn't win the Champions League, but they made it all the way over there with a team that you could have thought maybe was good enough for a quarterfinal run. Regardless, they made it all the way to the Champions League final. And they were just so electric the way that they made it all the way to that Champions League final. Just a memorable campaign all the way to that final. You talk, of course, about Mohamed Salah, who was known to be a very efficient player, who was known to be fast, who was known to be a very, very good team player, but we just didn't know he had that goal-scoring ability, and he showed it in the Premier League. He scored a bunch of goals in the Premier League, of course, a bunch of goals in the Champions League, and he broke out. He became one of the best players in the world. He became a player that Real Madrid was targeting at some point too. Maybe even Barcelona wanted him. You know, all the other big teams that look at superstars and immediately want to purchase them. And then, of course, Virgil van Dijk, who everyone thought at the time was overpriced. And again, once you look at it now, it's like, okay, maybe they didn't pay even a fraction of what they would have paid should they have bought him now. But Virgil van Dijk became one of the best center backs in the world. So out of nowhere, this team just broke out, and they may have even overachieved in some to some extent. But you may also argue that they were a little bit underwhelming. And why is that? They had the Premier League the top goal scorer. They went to the Champions League final. They finished fourth, which is actually one of the reasons why it was a little bit underwhelming. They didn't finish in a higher position, and they finished that season without any silverware. And the biggest opportunity they had of winning silverware was that Champions League final. And when you mention that Champions League final, it is impossible to not mention and to not remember Loris Karius's incredible mistakes that he made in that game in Kiev. And of course, it is unfair to criticize someone just based on one bad performance, but this isn't really a bad performance. This was a string of bad performances. This is a goalkeeper who was highly inconsistent. He had some good saves, but he also had some terrible blunders. And let's face it, a goalkeeper, whenever he makes mistakes, we look at it, we kind of frown upon that, because if the goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's likely going to end in a goal. And it's never a good time for a goalkeeper to make a mistake. But a Champions League final is a big no-no. You should never make those types of mistakes in a Champions League final. And unfortunately for him, it happened, and it is a sad story. But it actually became a blessing in disguise for Liverpool, because even though they were addressing most of their needs in the last two off seasons, they were still lacking a secure goalkeeper, and that's exactly what they were out to get in the summer of 2018.
Yeah, what can I say? I think Loris knows it. Yeah, everybody knows it. That's it. It's a shame in a game like this, and after a season like this. I really feel for him. Fantastic boy. Yeah. First one, yeah, and of course the second one. I think the second one is because of the first one. Nobody in a game like this, it's quite so really difficult to get rid of.
It was evident that Liverpool was literally only one position improvement away from becoming a contender, a real true contender, someone that you saw at the final stages of the Champions League and you weren't surprised. And sure enough, Alisson joined in the summer of 2018, along with Fabinho, Naby Keita, and Xherdan Shaqiri. So this team was just getting better and better and better, and they were getting rid of players who they weren't using much. So this Liverpool side took a big step ahead. They took a big step up. And in the Premier League, in that 2018-2019 season, in the Premier League, they only lost one game. They won 30. They drew 7, but they won 30 games, and they lost only 1. And somehow they didn't win the Premier League. They were 1 point away from essentially winning that Premier League. Manchester City was the champion with 98 points, but it was just a thrilling title race, and it just felt like Liverpool was almost there. They were scratching, they were clawing. It was so close. But now, let's talk about the moment that definitely defined, or the achievement that defined Liverpool's season, the Champions League. And of course, we know what happened the year before. They go back and they almost didn't make it out of the group stage, which is incredible. They almost didn't make it out of the group stage, but you look at that group and they had to play Napoli and PSG. They made it out of the group, 3 wins, 3 losses. They made it in second place. And they defeated Bayern Munich in the round of 16. They defeated Porto in the quarterfinals. And then they knocked out Barcelona in the Champions League semifinals after being down 3-0 on aggregate after the first leg. One of the most emotional, one of the most incredible games in Champions League history was played at Anfield. Second leg, Champions League semifinal that gave Liverpool a pass to the Champions League final. It was a long time coming, but Jurgen Klopp delivered on his promise. On June 1st, 2019, Liverpool were crowned the Champions League winners. They won the Champions League for the first time since 2005. They had finally won something with Jurgen Klopp. He delivered. He delivered on his promise. And that sparked just I don't even know how to put this. This sparked an utter domination by Liverpool, because since then, they won the UEFA Super Cup, they won the Club World Cup, and sure enough, last week, they won the Premier League. They won the Premier League. 30 years later, they win the league. They do it nearly undefeated. They lost their first Premier League game until February. They were dominant. They beat all of their direct opponents. They left minimal doubt. They finally won the Premier League. And they were the best team from start to finish. It's not even close. You can't even begin to create an argument. Liverpool was the best team from start to finish in this season of the Premier League. They went from being a team that was damn near mid-table in the Premier League to being a domestic giant and a European giant once more. Liverpool remember their old ways, the good old ways, and they became that team that they once knew how to be. But what did we learn from this process? Because I feel like this is only just the start. What have we learned from Liverpool's process from 2015 to now, 2020? One, we learned that Jurgen Klopp is a man of his word. He delivered on the promise. He's won multiple titles now. Liverpool has become a European elite once more. 2, the second thing that we learned. You can spend millions of dollars on players, or millions of euros, of pounds, or whatever. You can spend a lot of money on players. But if you don't buy smart, those purchases become a waste of money rather than becoming an investment. Liverpool has invested. Have you looked at any of their signings in the last 4 years and said, well, you know, they were all right. They didn't exceed or even meet expectations? No, not really. You look at this team and you say, wow, most of these signings, all of these signings have been freaking great. And that is what Liverpool has done very well. They have addressed their needs. They have used their money wisely. They let the idiots at Barcelona give them as much money as possible for Philippe Coutinho, and they spent it very, very wisely. And the third thing, this applies to soccer, to other sports, and to life, period. Success does not happen overnight. I think we all know that. But we also have to know that when you are on your way to being successful, you will suffer. It will suck. You will want to quit. But you should not quit. Do not quit. You never know. You might only be 12 months away from glory. You might only be one adjustment away from ultimately reaching your goal. And the patience that Liverpool had, the patience that Jurgen Klopp had, the patience that the board had, is something admirable and is something that we should all imitate. Because if you want to be successful, you have to be patient. And that is why Liverpool is now the 2019-2020 Premier League champion. Thank you all so much for watching this. Congratulations to Liverpool and all their fans. I know that on this side of the planet, there are a lot of people that support Liverpool. I am sure that those people are absolutely buzzing. They cannot believe it. I mean, I can't even imagine how it feels. I really can't. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to the Liverpool organization. Tremendous work. And this is it. This is my way of paying tribute to a truly special team. That'll do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much. My name is Alex Pérez. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at AlexPérezFC. Of course, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, Veterans Minimum on Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Follow us at Veterans Minimum on Instagram and on Twitter. Until next week, take care. Goodbye.